everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and I'm carrying on with the Casey Anthony trial, and the next witness is a bit of a long one, so I'm going to try and get through it as quickly as I can. And it's Detective Yuri Melitch again, part 2, and this is going through the whole Universal shambles and the recorded interview he did with her while they were there. So we start when he had been round all the places that Casey had given him on the 15th of July. So after he drops her off, he then began his investigation, starting with Universal Studios. He arrived at Universal at around 9:30 in the morning, and one of the reasons he went there was because Casey had given him names of witnesses that worked there. Seeing as she couldn't give him any telephone numbers for them, what option did he have? This included Zenaida, seeing as she was the suspect in the case. Casey had also told him that she had lost her cell phone while at work, and she had filed a report about it, so he wanted to see if he could find it to try and get any evidence off of it. He met with Leonard at Universal, and as previously stated, he called Casey. He told her that he was going to her place of employment and he wanted to make sure he had got the information he had correct. He did not tell her he was already there. He asked her to confirm her work number and extension, and the reason why he had her on speakerphone was so Leonard could check the information while she was saying it. And Yuri also wanted to know what her boss's name was. Leonard checked, and there was no one by that name. There was someone with a similar first name, but not that surname. He did then ask if she would come out to Universal. He spoke to his sergeant, and he and another detective picked her up and brought her. As far as he knew, Casey had agreed to come. They arrived within the hour. Yuri met with her at the employees' entrance with the other 2 detectives. Casey was not in handcuffs. They let Casey speak to the security guard, seeing as she said she worked there. She told the guard that she was an employee but didn't have her ID card. The guard asked her for a name and found that it showed she didn't work there. Now, at that point, you'd think most people would think, okay, I'm busted, I'll give it up, but not Casey. She carries on. After some questions about what department and her boss's name, security guards still couldn't find anything. Leonard then had to sign them in. All the while, Casey is still claiming she is definitely a Universal employee and she had forgotten her ID card. Now, you don't know whether this is just plain stupidity or she's hoping that she can get one over on the police, who already have checked everything out and know she's lying. So I think I'm erring more on the side of stupid. But again, Yuri says she was very convincing. They then asked Casey to take them to the building she worked in, so she was leading them to where she claimed she worked. They now show a picture of the route he took. Once they get into the building, Casey turns left and starts to walk down the hallway. Halfway down, she stops, turns to look at them and says, "I don't work here." Dun dun dun. They now show the hallway that Casey had led them to and admitted she didn't work there. After Casey admits this, Yuri asks if there's a room they could go to talk to Casey. They wanted to know why Casey had led them to a place she didn't work at. Leonard took them to a conference room. Casey agreed to talk to them. They now show a picture of the conference room where they conducted the interview with Casey. And when they go into this room, there is Yuri and 2 other detectives there as well. Yuri did have a tape recorder with him. He did record the interview. Casey was not under arrest and she was not being held against her will. The interview lasted just over an hour, so now they're going to play the interview. He starts by asking Casey if she remembers what he had said that morning when he said he needed her to tell the truth, otherwise it would just snowball, and she replies with yes.
It's a pretty big snowball, which means that there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and I can tell you just for a certainty that everything you've told me so far has been a lie. I can tell you that with a certainty, and let me explain why.
He tells her that he spoke to everyone she's told him about, barring the imaginary people, and that she's basically in a lot of trouble at this point and she needs to stop the lies.
Your escape hatch, so to speak. Okay, this is going to be the point where you stop all the lies and you stop all the fibs and you tell us exactly what's going on. I'm just being straight with you. Because obviously I know and you know that everything you told me is a lie, correct?
Not everything that I told you.
Yuri doesn't believe that she doesn't know where Kaylee is. She keeps saying she doesn't know where she is, but they're trying their best to get her to say where Kaylee is. But she's still claiming she dropped Kaylee off at the Sawgrass Apartments with Zenaida, and she is the last person to have Kaylee.
That's truth of everything that I've said. I do not know where she is. The last person that I saw her with is Zenaida. She's the last person that I've seen my daughter with.
See here.
One of the other detectives points out to Casey that does she really think telling lies is going to find her daughter? Everything they have done so far has got them nowhere and hasn't got them any closer to finding Kaylee. She's still, throughout this whole video, she's still saying she left Kaylee with Zenaida. They start talking about Kaylee's dad and asking if he actually passed away and asking if she has an obituary. She's saying he did pass away and she probably does have an obituary somewhere. They then ask if they can explain about her saying Zenaida worked at Universal when it's been proven she doesn't, and Casey says that Zenaida has an ID. Casey says she's scared of not seeing Kaylee again, so why is she continuously lying? There's no emotion or tears when Casey speaks about Kaylee. She's just I don't know. But the police aren't falling for this story. And the phone call that Casey got off Kaylee on the 15th, I mean, they're saying how wasn't Kaylee upset when she hadn't spoke to her mum in 4 weeks?
Time of day?
Around noon. It was from a private number.
Okay, and what'd she tell you? What'd your daughter say to you?
She said, "Hi, Mommy."
And that's it?
And she started telling me a story, talking to me about her shoes and books.
What's important is...
Then they ask why she still didn't call the police after that phone call, even though she found it odd. They are telling her because of all her lies, all her family and friends are going to suffer because of it, which they have. They are disproving everything she is telling them. He is saying she is more than likely dead somewhere, which she was at this point. They are just tired of the lies. She swears blind she doesn't know where she is, and she swears she dropped Kaylee off at the apartment she took her to. He says they checked security cameras and she wasn't there that day, but we do later find out that he didn't. So part of the reason she took them to Universal was to see if Kaylee was there. I mean, still seeing Kaylee is with Zenaida, and she has actually started crying now. I don't know if it's because she's been busted in her lies or if it's genuine emotion about Kaylee. But then her mum's mentioned, and she does get emotional because Cindy had said Casey had taken advantage of her, which Casey says she had because she'd used their credit card when she had her own money. She says she went and bought material stuff, went out to eat, out with her friends. I mean, I wouldn't dream of treating my own mum like that. Casey had talked to Zenaida through email, but Casey had tried twice and they bounced back, so the detectives say they could possibly track her through that. Casey agrees. Okay. Casey says there was never a sign that Zenaida would do anything like this. I mean, just stop already. She tells them where Kaylee's favourite places are, including J. Blanchard Park. Casey apologises for giving them the runaround. She wishes she had more things to help, and that's the end of the interview. There wasn't any surveillance video from the Sawgrass apartments. Don't know why I said that. Well, I do, but he shouldn't have done. He attempted to get surveillance footage from the Amscot, but they didn't have any because the cameras are all dummies. He received a zip drive from Casey that contained photographs of Kaylee and some cell phone records from June and July of 2008 that Casey had downloaded herself. Yuri was present when she actually did that. After the interview, Casey got in one of the other detectives' car, and one of the detectives was going through pictures on his computer to see if they could find one and identify Zenaida, which they didn't, and apparently Zenaida had a silver Ford Focus. Pardon me. Over the course of the investigation, they received tips on Zenaida and Kaylee. Excuse me. They received over 6,000 tips in total. Several of those were sightings of Kaylee with a Hispanic female and Zenaida herself, but they never located Zenaida. They never found any evidence that Kaylee had been with a Hispanic female. As well as the phone records, they had Casey's actual cell phone. They obtained a court order to get the text messages, etc. from the phone. They also obtained cell phone records directly from AT&T. He also collected items belonging to Kaylee from Cindy, which were 4 toothbrushes, 1 brush, comb and a thermometer, and these were sent to CSI. After the visit at Universal, they went back to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and then later Casey was arrested for providing false information to a law enforcement officer, obstructing an investigation, and for child neglect, which all seem pretty fair to me. Cross-examination. So before this even begins, Byers is trying to get one up on the detective already by bringing up something that he had done on Facebook with another name using Dick Tracy, and he was likening a few things, and it kind of looked bad, but it didn't get admitted, thankfully, so we can actually go back to the casing point. So at the beginning, Zenaida was the suspect and not Casey, and this is after no Zenaida could be found. Yuri didn't know what to make of Casey. He still thought Casey was holding back information. The complex that Casey took Yuri to, that was opposite Ricardo's home, was a seniors only building. I mean, she didn't think that one through, did she? There was a guest card found at the Sawgrass Apartments with the name Zenaida Gonzalez on it, but not Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. Again, Byers is picking holes in why he got Casey to come to Universal when they already knew she didn't work there. And again, I stick by the fact that they needed her to admit she didn't actually work there, because otherwise she would have continued to stick to that story just like she has everything else until it's been proven otherwise. He wanted to see where Casey would take him. She was convincing, and he thought maybe the computers had got it wrong. He just didn't know. He couldn't understand why she would carry on with the fact she worked there when she didn't, and Casey led them there and carried on with the lies. You can't really argue that. He says she was walking with purpose when taking them to which building she worked in, and she didn't hesitate. I've got a clip of Byers at this point, and I'll let the clip speak for itself.
I want to ask you this hypothetical. As you're about to sit down, if Casey had told you, "Don't sit there, Zanny the nanny is sitting there," what would you have done?
The interview at Universal gave Yuri the opportunity to confront her about why they were there, basically confront her and her lies. And Byers is saying the techniques that Yuri used when interviewing Casey didn't work. Yuri doesn't agree when he got her to admit she had lied. but she did still maintain she had left Kaylee with Zenaida, and they didn't know at the time Zenaida didn't exist. So his interviewing techniques did work. She admitted she lied. During the interview, Yuri's phone was blowing up, basically constantly ringing from phone calls from Cindy. He did call her back, and this was when he was told about the pool ladder and the gate being open for the first time. He didn't find it important at the time. He just took it on board as another piece of information. So now Byers is going back to Yuri's deposition to obviously point something out. Byers asks him if he remembers him asking, okay, and did you find that to be important information? And Yuri replied with yes, which I'd already said, it just wasn't crucial at the time. Byers says that Yuri had the opportunity to question Casey about it while he was interviewing her at Universal, but he didn't. He never confronted her with that information. I mean, he didn't know how important that information was at the time, and he was just busting Casey out for one set of lies, and he was trying to get to the bottom of that, trying to crack her open to find out where Kaylee was. So Cindy calling him and giving him that information didn't just rush to the forefront of his mind. He was still in that interview mode and just wanting to put this to bed and then move on so they can come closer to finding Kaylee. Numerous witnesses and other evidence showed that Kaylee was seen after the 9th of June. So the dates have got mixed up. The redirect, Cindy didn't give Yuri an exact date of when the pool ladder incident occurred. He just thinks it was sometime in early June. During the interview, it is mentioned an incident could have possibly happened with Kaylee. Casey doesn't adopt that theory and still stands by Zenaida kidnapping Kaylee. She's not going to really change her story that she's stuck to for so long, because she knows that will just make her look even more guilty than what she already does, even though, you know, it's obviously going to come out that she's lying. But, you know, they've getting to the bottom of things slowly, and hopefully, you know, I mean, what are they supposed to do? They know she's lying, she's carrying on with the lie, so they need, you know, she's making it difficult. It's her that's in the wrong. If she just told the truth in the first place, you know. Right, okay, so I know it's a bit of a long one, this one, but it's, you know, it's a good chunk of witness testimony. So I'll be back with more. So until then, bye for now.